It's vegan recipes with Pat and Emily.
Today on It's Vegan, I'm going to show you how to take a potato and a little bit of broccoli and turn it into a yummy broccoli potato soup. Now, I don't have a specific written out recipe, but I'm going to show you how I developed this into a soup that you can make at home too. Next is to prepare your vegetables. I want little flowerets. I would like them to be about that size. Keep these little stem pieces later, but I want to use the flowerets on top of my soup also because I want it to look pretty. I'll cut the rest of this and come back on camera, but I wanted to show you I use the stem of the broccoli as well, the stalk, and I peel it. Once you peel that off, it's very tender and it's very tasty. And because I want everything fairly small, that's how I'm going to cut the stalk. I'm actually keeping it away from the little flowerets because I want to use the flowerets to decorate and make the soup pretty. Here's some more stalk cutting. The broccoli's chopped. I'm putting the little flowerets in a small pot. I'm going to steam these probably just for 2 minutes. I want them to still be fairly green and to have their shape and not be mushy. The stalks I'm throwing in my other saucepan. I'm going to be putting onion and potato in there as well. Here's the onion. I don't want this much onion. Of course, always take off what you're not going to want to eat. I'm only going to want about 2 slices of onion. This is not very much soup, and I want it sliced fairly small. Go over your onion several times to get it fairly small. Bring it together. Just keep chopping. And that should do it. That is probably 1/4 of a cup. Yep, that's about 1/4 of a cup. The next thing that I'm going to work on are my potatoes. And I also want these fairly small. You could peel them or not. Look them over. Take off what you don't want to eat. I like to have the skin because that's giving me the whole food. But if this was an Idaho potato and it was really a thick-skinned potato, I would want to peel it. As you can see, I'm going to be making this fairly small. These will also go in my pot with the onion and the broccoli stalk. These are probably 1/2-inch cubes. This is the size cube that I'm going for. Continuing to cut the potato. So I'm getting ready to put this on the stove, and I'm going to season it with Better Than Bouillon, and it's no chicken vegetable stock. I'm using about a teaspoon. And now I'm going to be just covering the potatoes with almond milk. You could use soy or oat. I'll stir this up. I'm not adding salt right now because of that bouillon. We'll be tasting this a little bit later and see how it goes. I'm going to add a little bit more milk. I'm going to cook these. I'll start them up on a boil, but then I'm going to simmer them with a lid on until they are nice and soft. Broccoli's temperature is coming up to a boil, and I'm adding just a little bit of lemon juice. You can see there's almost no liquid in there. The broccoli's going to steam until it is just done for a very short while. Now I'm turning the broccoli down low. The potatoes are coming up to a boil. Once they get a little bit hotter, I will be turning this down lower. There we go. I'm starting to get a few little bubbles, and that's where I want it. So I'm going to turn that down to low and put the lid on it. The broccoli is exactly where I want it. It's crisp, tender, and I tasted it. It is going to need a tiny bit of seasoning. So I'm actually using a little bit of garlic salt. Really, I'll just stir it up. The lid's going to go on until we are ready to serve this soup. Potatoes have been cooking probably about 20 minutes, and I believe they're about where I want them. I put a knife through it. It's pretty soft. I also tasted it, and I believe it needs a little more seasoning. To season it, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. You, of course, could add more or less. And I'm adding some more of that bouillon. But the nutritional yeast, oh, it just makes it smell wonderful. Also, at this point, I'm putting some pepper, black pepper in it. You could use white pepper. So I'm stirring this all up. It's starting to smell just wonderful. This is not going to be one of those broccoli cheese soups that's real thick and cheesy like you often see. This is going to be a little more brothy. Now, because I want it a little bit thicker, I'm going to start mashing up the potatoes a little bit. And you could always thicken this with flour and water mixture. You could put in also some instant potatoes. We'll see. I think this is probably going to be a nice brothy, creamy type of soup. You can see the potatoes are just slightly mashed. At this point, I'm going to taste it, see if it needs other seasoning. Oh, I think that's just perfect. It's time to serve it. It's time to plate this right now, and as you can see, it's only about 2 servings because I only had that 1 stalk of broccoli. You could always multiply the quantities to make larger amount. So as you're looking at that, you can see the potatoes, the broccoli stalks. That's about half of the soup. And now you'll see what I'm talking about putting this pretty green broccoli on top. Now I'm just putting about half of it. So it just makes it look so pretty. And that's what it looks like. I'm serving it with cranberry breakfast bread. It's just going to be a great lunch or dinner. Okay, it's time for that taste test. That is a keeper. That is a great recipe. You know, many of the broccoli cheese soups that you used to eat before you were a vegan were so heavy and just kind of sank in your stomach. This doesn't do that. It is really good. Let me know if you try it and what you think about it. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next week.